Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a fine Monday morning. I know it's Mondays. Ugh. Nobody really likes Mondays, do they? And if you do, you're kind of weird, right? Like, there's some people that are, yay, it's Monday. Very few of them, okay? Mind you, I've only met like one that I can remember. You know, the type of person that wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning so they can go for a jog. Yeah. That's the kind of Monday morning person I'm talking about. But here we are, yet again. Coffee with Steve. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I do appreciate it. All right, let's bring it down, Sasha. Let's bring it down. So, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Today, I thought I'd dig into some of the stuff that's been kind of popping in the news. It's kind of interesting. I'm a technology guy. Most of you guys know me for the tech stuff that I do. You know me for the programming made easy and the videos that I do. I also work for a pretty established company that does a lot of tech stuff. So, you guys know me for tech. But a lot of times politics crosses over, right? There's a real big battle with technology and politics, and it's so easy for things to get deceptive in here because politicians will say just about anything to get elected. But at the same time, technology is starting to take on this mantle of, we need to be the truth tellers. We need to figure out what's real and what's fake. And I don't know that that's necessarily the best job for these big companies like Google and Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and whoever else, Twitch, or it's not really your jobs, right? It's not, you guys are providing a platform, and this is that battle we talked about before, publisher versus platform. If you're going to be a publisher, then that means that you have to filter your content and you're suddenly responsible for everything everybody posts on there. Whereas if you're if you're just a platform, you're allowed to just let things kind of go. But it's pretty clear by Google's actions that they don't like this. They want to be more in the publishing business, and the same thing with Facebook. It's kind of this feeling that they need to be kind of the gatekeepers. That's a big word that's been bantied around a lot here, is the gatekeepers of information. They view themselves as somewhat like journalists do now also, right? Like, oh, I'm completely unbiased, even though I voted for Hillary Clinton. That's totally unbiased. Trump is despicable Nazi, but totally unbiased. That's kind of the general feeling right now, right? And there was a big bust out here. You guys have probably heard by now, the Project Veritas, which of course was immediately scrubbed from the internet. Basically, you could only find it on more conservative-leaning news outlets, I guess you'd call them, or punditry pages, because there's it's been brought up that part of the reason why that's happening is because some of the people who were interviewed in that didn't know they were being interviewed. Their face was made public. Their names were made public. And especially in the state of California, you have to have in order to record something, you have to have, I think it's in California, you have to have dual authorization in order for that to happen, in order for you to record something. In some states, you don't. In some states, you only need one person, one party needs to be aware of the recording in order to do it. So, but I believe in California, it is a dual authorization state. Anyway, so I'm getting into some of the nitty-gritty details before I've even gotten into the big picture stuff here. So Project Veritas drops, makes it splash, gets picked up by like Ted Cruz and Dan Crenshaw, and even gets in the middle of this public hearing. So it gets a lot of traction, right? And it's done by this guy named James O'Keefe, who notoriously also had he walked into this place, the Acorns place, with in a pimp outfit with his prostitute, tagging along behind him, trying to get funding for housing. And that was, that was James O'Keefe. There's some kind of iffy stuff that he's done. He's actually also had like lawsuits come up against him and stuff. So there's a lot out there of people saying like, well, he's just he's just kind of one of these characters that's just trying to sensationalize everything. However, there was some big, there is something to pull from this. Yes, the lady on record did not know she was being recorded, but that also makes it much more raw and much more truthful, right? She's speaking her mind, and that's part of it, right? So I've got a few articles here just kind of covering this. So one is from the Washington Times. Google exec in Project Veritas sting says only big tech can stop the next Trump situation. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and share this. So yes, I do like to highlight the big talking points of what I find interesting about the articles, just to kind of shorten it up for you so I don't end up reading the whole thing. Google exec in Project Veritas sting says only big tech can stop the next Trump situation. The next Trump situation. Gee, I wonder what they mean by the next Trump situation. What did she mean? So a top Google executive was caught on hidden camera declaring that the federal government should not break up the tech giant because then it would become more difficult to prevent the next Trump situation. So this was not just some random Google employee that they caught during lunch or something. This was somebody this is Jen Janai, head of Google Responsible Innovation Team, which seeks to ensure fair and ethical outcomes via artificial intelligence. And of course, artificial intelligence is kind of how they're doing their aggregation, right? They're getting much more heavily dependent upon artificial intelligence to do the sourcing of material when you're doing a Google search, for example. So, fair and ethical outcomes. So now we're starting to get ethical, which once you start to do, both fair and ethical are completely arbitrary terms, and each one of these companies is coming up with their own set of guidelines of what fair and ethical is. And then they can, and because it is such a vague area, they can apply it indiscriminately, right? They could just say, well, we've got these standards, and clearly these people don't adhere to it, but these people, we're just going to ignore them because we get to decide what's fair and ethical. So anyway, she's quoted as saying, Elizabeth Warren is saying we should break up Google, Miss Janai said. And I love her, but she's very misguided. That will not make it better. It will make it worse because now we have all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Trump situation. It's like a small company cannot do that. Now, first of all, I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this, right? To me, this is the big story that nobody is talking about. A small company cannot do that. Whenever I hear that, my mind immediately thinks, well, that's because you guys have stopped allowing competition. There is no competition in the marketplace, right? This is kind of proof in the pudding, right? Oh, no small company can do that. Why can't a small company do that? Why? What has gotten us to the point where a small company cannot prevent the Trump situation? Doesn't that speak volumes for how big you've gotten, right? For how cumbersome you have become to everybody's lives? Right? That's the epitome of we need more competition. We have to have competition. And the only way to do that is to have smaller companies kind of be able to compete against these larger companies. So in my mind, that's actually the big takeaway. But I know that there's a lot more in here that kind of feeds the beast a little bit more than that particular comment and that particular line of thinking. But yeah, I'm all about competition. I want to see more competition. And here she's basically proving my point. Small companies can't do that. Small companies can't regulate. They cannot regulate. Only we can regulate. with the help of the government, right? We've got Mark Zuckerberg going out, hey, you guys tell me how you want me to regulate this. You guys, you politicians, you tell me how you want me to regulate Facebook. That's a cushy deal for Facebook. That's a cushy deal for Google. Because then who's going to be able to afford the regulations? Right? This is the problem. This is the not just crony capitalism. This is collusion between the government and big business. This is what we should all be universally fighting against from all sides of the aisle, right? If you are the most far left leaning person, you hate big corporations, well, guess what? Your government is involved in big corporations. Okay, they are actively pursuing policies that are helping big companies. That's what's happening. And every time you get one of these big, like we're going to create a law in order to prevent the Donald Trump situation, okay, you're just creating a situation where these big tech companies are the only ones that can afford it. And here she's saying that. This is exactly what she's saying. All right. Let's see. So there was also a Google insider who said that the company's agenda has changed after Donald Trump 2016's election victory. And this is kind of important because I'm going to go over this a little bit later too. Gosh, I got something in my throat. Sorry about that, folks. Maybe I should just mute myself before I do that, huh? Right? Let's see if I can find the mute button. Okay, there was a good throat clearing. Sorry about that. Okay, so identified as a Google insider who said that the company's agenda changed after Donald Trump's 2016 election victory. Quote, right after Donald Trump won the election in 2016, the company did a complete 180 in what they thought was important. Remember, don't be evil? That was the original slogan for Google. Don't be evil. They took that down ever since, right? Before that, they thought self-expression, giving everyone a voice was important, but now they're like, hey, there's a lot of hate, and because there's a lot of hate and misogyny and racism, that's the reason Donald Trump got elected, and we need to fix that. Right. Sure. Because, I mean, you just have to believe. Survivalizer says, don't be evil is merged to try not to get caught. That's funny. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like there's this automatic. So this insider is kind of, and who knows? He's set up to be this Google insider. We don't really know the identity of the person. We don't know if they really are. We have to kind of take Project Veritas at its word. And yes, there is some suspect there as to the veracity of this, I guess. I'm trying to think of the right word. Okay, but there's this conflation, right? There's this assumed conflation. Hate, misogyny, racism must be Donald Trump voter. Right? Like, there's just this assumption. You don't have to be a misogynist. You don't have to hate. You don't have to be a racist. You don't have to be a Nazi to vote for Donald Trump. Get this through your thick skulls. In fact, I bet it's probably the teeniest little fraction of the people that voted for Donald Trump. And now you've even got articles of people that are like, oh, you have Tim Pool did this thing where he's reading up from an article of this writer. I can't remember exactly which. You guys go check out his channel if you get a time. But he's talking about how this news writer overheard someone say, I'm going to have to vote for something like, as they're watching the debates, I don't think I'm a Democrat anymore, right? Because they're watching the debates. So where are they going to vote? They're going to vote Donald Trump, maybe. Some of them are anyway. Does that mean that they're all racist? Does that mean they're all sexist and misogynist? All these people who previously were Democrats are now voting for Donald Trump. They must all be this way too. We need to start policing our users because they don't like to have an outcome like that. We don't have an outcome like that happen again. Or we don't want to have an outcome like that. So we don't want an outcome like this. This is the big thing that I'm trying to get to in this one, in this particular stream. We don't want to have an outcome like this again. What kind of outcome? The Donald Trump situation. We don't want Donald Trump getting elected. We don't want Donald Trump getting reelected. We don't want somebody like Donald Trump getting elected. We don't want Republicans getting elected because they're all misogynist. They're all hate-filled, right? Project Veritas posted what were identified as internal Google documents on machine learning fairness and algorithmic unfairness. Ooh, and this is something else. This is something that kind of bothers me about AI in general. Okay, it's great to say machines are going to be more agnostic and they're going to pick up this stuff for us and kind of filter all this stuff for us. So we're kind of hands off about it. It's not going to be biased. It's not going to be... Oh, big loud noise coming from my chair. So we're not going to be biased. We're not going to be, it's going to be the computer. The computer decided this through its algorithm. Okay, who wrote the algorithm? Oh, well... We did a fairness thing. We did machine learning fairness and algorithmic fairness. Okay, who decided what was fair? Well, our policy team that determines fairness. Okay, so who's that? Well, clearly who that is somebody who doesn't want the Donald Trump situation again. So they're building into the AI how to avoid Donald Trump getting reelected. But that way they can kind of have this veneer behind them saying, oh, well, we didn't do it. It was the machines that did this. It automatically did all of this for us. So it's not us. It's not our bias. It was like we took the bias part out of it. It's just the machine that decided this. Okay, so Project Veritas, machine learning fairness, unjust or prejudicial treatment of people that is relative or related to sensitive characteristics such as race, income, sexual orientation, or gender. The reason we launched our AI principles is because people were not putting that line in the sand, that they were not saying what's fair and what's equitable. So we're like, well, we are a big company. We're going to say it, Miss Janai said. So they're putting the line in the sand of what's fair, right? And which characteristics such as race, income, sexual orientation, and gender are we going to protect, right? What they're really saying about fairness is that they have to manipulate their search results so it gives them the political agenda that they want. And so they have to re-bias their algorithms so that they can get their agenda across, right? So it's the algorithms. This is the thing. And the algorithm is secret, proprietary stuff that you don't have access to. Because it would, obviously it would jeopardize their company if we gave that information. All those SEO companies that are out there that are trying to, deconstruct this thing and figure out how to get your company highest ranked. If that information got out there, the havoc that would come from it. If you knew how to get your website to the top of the search engine, it would just be pandemonium. Ms. Janai also said that everyone, including the people in the news media, got screwed over in 2016, and as a result, Google has been trying to figure out what happened there and how do we prevent it from happening again. How do we prevent it? We got screwed in 2016. What can Google do to prevent 2016 from happening again? Because doggone it, Donald Trump screwed us over. All those people that were manipulated and lied to and are misogynists and blah, blah, blah who voted for Trump. They are a highly biased political machine that is bent on never letting somebody like Donald Trump come to power again, he said. This is, again, all right, the political insider said all that. Well, okay, this got me thinking. Yeah, and there's this other thing about, Dan Crenshaw, God bless him, branding Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and Dennis Prager as Nazis, which, of course, two of them are practicing, religious Jews, not just, the type of... There's a lot of, Jewish folks will tell you, some of them are very religious, very practicing, some of them are, just heritage, right? They're both very practicing Jews being labeled Nazis in this stuff, so... Anyway, that's not what I wanted to get to. So I want to get back to this whole idea. Okay, so got screwed over in 2016 because of technology, right? Because our technology let this happen. Our technology let Donald Trump get elected and we got screwed. What happened in 2008? Anybody remember 2008 when President Obama got elected? Here's an article I found from 2008 from New York Times. How Obama's internet campaign changed politics. President Obama got elected in a lot of ways. This like Ariana Huffington, of course, we all know who she is, right? Were it not for the internet, Barack Obama, were it not for the internet, Barack Obama would not be president. Were it not for the internet, Barack Obama would not have been the nominee, said Ariana Huffington, editor-in-chief of Huffington Post. So let that sink in for just a moment. President Obama got elected because of the internet. What happened? Did all of a sudden, like Google and Facebook and all the which I don't think they were all that big in 2008, but all the political things, the Twitter, did they all go like, whoa, we can't just let presidents get elected because of our technology and because of the way people use it? Did they get all like, oh my gosh? No. Right? They're like, no. It's great, more freedom of communication, much easier for people to talk, and things can be referenced. Like, there's more in here. But by using interactive Web 2.0 tools, Mr. Obama's campaign changed the way politicians organize supporters, advertise to voters, defend against attacks, and communicate with constituents. I wonder what Donald Trump did that was so different than what Obama did. What was so different? What was so vastly, hugely different? Russian bots? You mean the same Russian bots that were discovered to actually be Democratic operatives? Those Russian bots? Seriously, like what was so different about what Obama did versus what Trump did? Can anybody tell me the big difference? What did he do so drastically, horribly different? Is the internet just misogynist now? Is that what it is? Like the internet itself is racist. Just like everybody on it, right? No, it's just everybody. Like people are on it. There's going to be biases both sides. It's going to be that way forever. And yes, certain politicians are going to appeal to a certain base. It's always going to be that way. So when you have these tech giants basically wanting to intrude upon that unbiased nature and create bias, we've got a serious problem. Okay, it's like having all of these newspapers that are supposed to be independent journalists all leaning one way and being government, like having the government basically impart some sort of influence on that. Mr. Obama used the internet to organize his supporters in a way that would have been in the past required an army of volunteers and paid organizers on the ground, Mr. Trippi said. So Howard Dean's campaign, right? Campaign manager in 2004 is saying all this. So again, this article is from 2008 that I'm reading here about Obama. Mr. Obama used the internet to organize his supporters in a way that would have in the past required an army of volunteers and paid organizers on the ground. The tools changed between 2004 and 2008. Barack Obama won every single caucus state that matters, and he did it because of those tools, because he was able to move thousands of people to organize. Mr. Obama's campaign took advantage of YouTube for free advertising, just like Donald Trump uses Twitter for free advertising. Mr. Trippi argued that those videos were more effective than television ads because viewers chose to watch them. Viewers chose to watch them or received them from a friend instead of having their television shows interrupted. What changed? Did the internet just, did everything totally change between 2008 and 2016? Did YouTube change? Yes, it did change in a lot of ways, but the way that people use YouTube, did that change? No. People watch what they want to watch. If something looks interesting, they click on it and they go watch it. It was the same in 2008 as it was in 2016. There's also been a sea change in fact-checking, with citizens using the internet to find past speeches that prove a politician wrong. Gee, I wonder what Project Veritas is doing. It's like figuring out when people say things that they shouldn't be saying. Finding out how the technology is influencing our politics. Okay? See change in fact-checking, with citizens using the internet to find past speeches that prove a politician wrong. Ms. Huffington's off-the-bus team of 10,000 citizen journalists caught candidates saying things that embarrassed them later, like Mr. Obama's guns and religion remark. Now she said there's no off-the-record fundraiser. I vaguely remember that remark. Clinging to your guns and religion, right? That got out there. There will be a lot of collateral damage coming to grips with the fact that we're in a reality TV series, Politics 24/7, Mr. Newsom said. That's a good thing, Mr. Trippy said. This medium demands authenticity, and television, for the most part, demanded fake. Authenticity is something politicians haven't been used to. Whoa. This medium demands authenticity. This is coming from the head. This is coming from the head of the 2004 campaign for Howard Dean, saying this medium demands authenticity, and television, for the most part, demanded fake. Fake news. Fake news. Right? Like, this is... So you have the head of 2004, Howard Dean, who at one point was even like the what'd you call him? The head of the Democratic National Committee, right? And he's saying there's now going to be a demand for authenticity. Right? They're saying, oh, well, because Obama got elected, clearly there's now more authenticity because of the internet, right? Like, we're all having to be authentic. And look, Obama won because of that. Trump won because it's inauthentic and because everyone is a Nazi. Seriously. These same people. Obama was so great and so clear and so authentic. Obama only won because of Russian bots and because of misogynists and racists and homophobes and Nazis, including Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager, who are both Nazis, I swear. Come on. Seriously. Like, how many mental gymnastics do these people have to take before they're going to realize that it's so much bias? There's so much bias in both journalism and in Google and in Facebook and in Twitter. We can all see it. We all know it's there. The left is just like turning a blind eye to this, going, oh, no. I see no bias. Justice is blind. We just want empirical equity. And we're going to build into our AI algorithms this empirical equity, which really only just gives us what we like. But it's going to be empirical. It's going to be so unbiased, even though we built the bias in. And we don't want another Donald Trump situation. Like that we can't have people deciding for themselves who is the right politician. That's the real thing. We can't let people decide for themselves. That's it. That's what it really boils down to. Google and Facebook and Twitter think they are the arbiters of what is truth and justice and right, and you are not. You cannot. You are just sheeple. You just do whatever the Russian bots tell you. All right. Survivalers says, yeah, did you see how they muted Andrew Yang's mic and earpiece? Yes. And they only gave him 3 minutes of a 2-hour debate. 3 minutes of talking time. And like 45 seconds of that was just his closing remark. He got like no questions. None. He Look, I'm not really in the Andrew Yang support group, but you guys who are Andrew Yang fans, you are the Ben Carsons, the Ben Carson supporters, okay? Like fanatic, love the guy, think he's really, really intelligent, has some crazy different ideas, really smart, wicked smart, should be the number one because of his intelligence, because of his solution-oriented pathway. He should be the one that gets the nomination, right? That's how I felt about Ben Carson. Smart guy, probably the smartest guy up on stage, bar none, right? The dude did brain surgery, for Christ's sake. You can't, and ran the departments, right? Ran the department that did this. So it's not like he just was a doctor and that's all he did. He did do a lot of other things. Smart guy, right? Like about as bright as you can possibly get. But because he kind of talks a little bit with his eyes closed, we can't elect this guy. He's got his eyes closed. He looks kind of sleepy. That's totally disqualifying, right? He looks like how I look at 2 o'clock every day. Psh, what time is it now during the debate? Oh, I don't know. It's like 8 or 9 o'clock. So he's a little tired? Yeah, but that's no excuse. You can't. Andrew Yang is kind of getting that same thing. I hope he stays in it for a while. I want to have more opinions, something other than we need free Medicare for all, including illegals. I think that's a little bit extreme, maybe. All right. Masij Malik says, hello, Steve. Hello. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Masij Maliki. Center Negative says, haha, solid impression. And I know that was during my Donald Trump impression. We're all just going to have to get along. Okay? I'm the greatest president. Everybody knows it. Survival Laser says, equity equals ownership in a capital asset. So just let that sink in. Okay. Survival Laser says, words are inconvenient things. That is right. Especially when they are recorded. And they go against, or they get used against you in the court of public opinion. All right, guys. Last thing I want to just kind of talk about on this has to do with, let's hear the counter argument. The Verge, which I don't know if you look. The Verge is Vox, right? There's a bunch of websites that are just basically Vox, and that's what The Verge is. Project Veritas YouTube sting was deeply misleading and successful. Really deeply misleading. Darn it, we quoted her. We quoted her exact words and released it. How deceitful of us. Like most of O'Keefe's work, it's deceptively edited and doesn't add up to much, but he managed to catch one executive in a pretty poor choice of words. Really. It was just a poor choice of words. Just said the wrong thing. If you substitute Cambridge Analytica for Trump's situation, it's more or less the argument Facebook and Google have been using to fend off antitrust proposals all year. Yeah, except she didn't say Cambridge Analytica. She didn't say that. She said Trump's situation. Is Cambridge Analytica and Trump's situation the same thing? No. Elizabeth Warren is saying we should break up Google, and I love her, but she's very misguided. That will not make it better. It will make it worse because all these smaller companies who don't have the same resources that we do will be charged with preventing the next Cambridge Analytica. It's like a small company cannot do that. My original statement on this still stands. So only large companies can deal with this? How did we get to the point where that's the problem? How do we get here where only big companies can handle these things? It doesn't matter if you substitute Cambridge Analytica or Trump situation. Anyway, so if she says preventing the next Trump situation, the whole situation would have probably have stayed quiet if it weren't for Ted Cruz. That slimy Ted Cruz, who called out the video in an uncomfortable moment at the Senate Commerce hearing the following day. And he was talking, now, granted, who he was talking to, that was not exactly the right person to be discussing this with. Cruz was questioning Google UX director Maggie Stanfill, UX design. UX design is not going to know AI algorithms. They're not. right? Okay, that's not their part of the business. That's like you'd have to go across the campus to the other building and talk to them, okay? Because we're not, UX design is not involved in the aggregation of data for the search, okay? After that last hearing, the scandal grew big enough that YouTube decided to issue an official denial, saying simply, "We apply our policies fairly and without political bias." And if you believe that, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. If you believe that, we apply our policies fairly and without political bias. I don't know about you, but my bullshit meter just went bing. It's embarrassing that Congress took this so seriously, and no one wants to give it any more attention than it deserves. But O'Keefe has played this trick over and over, so it's worth breaking down exactly what's happening here. To start with, there's a fairly straightforward reason why the Veritas video was banned. YouTube's privacy guidelines ban videos that identify people who don't want to be identified. There are exceptions for newsworthiness and public figures. But the Veritas video is clearly on the wrong side of this rule. Really? This isn't newsworthy? It's not newsworthy. No. So you have suddenly become the arbiter of what is newsworthy. Now, let me just tell you who's writing this. Russell Brandom leads our policy team for The Verge. Yes, the head of the policy team leads the policy team at The Verge, and he's the one that is the arbiter of saying, this is on the wrong side of the rule. This is not newsworthy. We have a news organization, and we get to decide what is and is not newsworthy because it doesn't follow our particular bent. That's what it is. We all see it. It's just more evidence. It just keeps piling on. They keep denying this over and over again. They deny. Well, every time they do the denial, they are proving the hypothesis, right? They're proving it. Time and time again, they release articles like this proving exactly what we're saying. You are biased in your coverage. You're even telling us that something that is clearly very newsworthy is not newsworthy. The head of policy. To start with, there's a fairly straightforward reason that the Veritas video is banned. I get this. Like, I can buy this. This does make sense. Okay, YouTube's privacy guidelines ban videos that identify people who don't want to be identified. Totally get that. No doxing, please. I understand. Okay? Do not dox people. People who don't want to be identified publicly should not be forced to be publicly identified. Totally agree with that. And if that's the reason why they were removed, that would be great. Is that why YouTube said that it was removed? I'm having a difficult time finding the official reason given by YouTube why this video was taken down, which is the same criticism we consistently have for YouTube taking down anything, or Facebook taking down anything, or Google taking down anything. Like, all these different companies take down things, say that it goes against our company guidelines or policies or whatever, or community guidelines, but then never state exactly how it broached that community guideline. If you just simply told us, how did it do this? How did it break this community guideline? A lot of this would go away. But instead, you just have like this generic community guidelines, say that you broke it, don't give any specifics, and then just say, yep, well, that should be the end of that news story. Given the general temperament of Veritas subscribers, oh God, this statement alone, again, head of policy at The Verge. Okay? Think of who this person is. They're in the Verge is a media outlet, right? Tied to Vox. Given the general temperament of Veritas subscribers, one can only imagine the kind of abuse that's been pointed at Janai in the days since the video went live. Can we possibly that's just an accusation for no reason. Given the general temperament of Veritas subscribers, one can only imagine the kind of abuse that's been pointed at Janai in the days since the video went live. Hello, James Damore. James Damore here. Jeez, I have no idea what kind of temperament of the people might be directed at this person who's been outed. Oh my goodness. Are you is Jen Janai like being officially kicked out by Google for very non-specific reasons, or at least highly suspect reasons? Is she still working there? Has there been like a huge like outrage on Twitter that has caused the company to reevaluate her position within the company and probably kick her out? Has that happened because of the outrage of the Veritas subscribers? This is just, these are people that have absolutely no self-awareness whatsoever. None. They do not have, they don't think about what they themselves are doing at all. And if they do, they just justify it, right? They justify it as we're being fair and equitable. We're just trying to do the right thing, our version of the right thing. We are the arbiters. We are the ones drawing the line in the sand. We are the ones coming up with the AI to figure all of this out. And this is the scary part of technology to me. It's not what is like, I'm not the Elon Musk kind of guy that's saying we need to back off on the AI because it might kill us all, right? Skynet. Okay, that's not where I'm concerned about AI. I'm concerned about the people that are creating the AI because they're pretending to be agnostic, if you will, right? They're pretending to be above the fray when they're doing this, but they are so incredibly biased. We can see it time and time again. So much bias in here. It's just amazing that we're seeing this transpire and they don't understand why it's happening to themselves, even though there's so much evidence, there's so many people telling them exactly why this is happening, they just ignore it, right? Just flatly ignore it. Last thing I have on here, it was simply brute force letting executives know that every time someone in the conservative clique has trouble with YouTube, there will be a lawmaker ready to sweat them over it. Each time it happens, Google gets a little more gun-shy dealing with high-profile policy violations, whether it's Alex Jones or Steven Crowder, and as long as the trick keeps working, O'Keefe and Cruz will keep doing it. There's a very simple solution. Very, very simple. Okay? Stop making such arbitrary rules. Stop making rules that are, I'm going to apply to you, but I'm not going to apply to them. Stop doing that. And then all this goes away. Okay? Make Google the platform that it's supposed to be. Make YouTube the platform it's supposed to be. Make Facebook the platform it's supposed to be. Stop being publishers. Stop trying to filter what's there. If your community guidelines are such that people like this are consistently bumping into it, even though they've got a huge following, maybe you should change the community guidelines to allow for it. Okay? Maybe you should. Now, look, in this case, I totally get it. If Project Veritas posted somebody that didn't want to be posted, and that's the reason it got taken down, great. But also, as I said before, if that's the reason, make it public. Let us know. Tell us this is the exact reason for this specific reason. Instead, what we've got is conjecture here. YouTube's privacy guidelines ban videos that identify people who don't want to be identified. Okay, but that's not the... Notice that he's not quoting the official statement from YouTube here. This is conjecture on his part. This is conjecture. This is what he thinks is the reason why it happened. And he can say this, YouTube privacy guidelines. That's why. Okay, but what specifically? He probably has a very good guess here. But it's not the official announcement by YouTube. That's not what's being said. That's the problem. YouTube is not being explicit about what they're doing. And they're not being very clear-cut about it. And they're only going after those Trump voters. Those Trump voters, we got to go against them. All right. So my voice is going hoarse. I better cut it out here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. If you guys have any comments or questions or anything, please drop them in the comment section below. Try to keep it a nice, even, keep it a friendly discussion. If you have some disagreements, I certainly would understand, and I definitely want to hear those disagreements. I love to hear about why I'm wrong. That's right, I do. Just tell me nicely, right? I don't mind. It's just be nice. Like we're all friendly here. I am not a Nazi. I promise you, I am not. All right, guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day and a good week. I will try to be here tomorrow. Again, I apologize. I know I'm supposed to be trying to do this consistently every day, but dang it, I work. I have a full-time job. I have a wife that loves me. She wants me to spend time with her. Sometimes things just happen and I can't be here 24/7. I apologize. It's just the way it is. So Sasha and I are going to say thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.